Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to another vlog, or, yeah, I don't know, rant, commentary, fucking whatever, with me, Gitbag the Great. I haven't really got much of an idea about this one, I suppose. I never really do for these vlogs or rants. It's just about whatever's weighing on my mind at a particularly given time about gaming and films and, YouTube and shit like that, and weed and bitches and, that whole sort of thing. But it's just... I'm just kidding. I don't smoke weed at all. I mean, some people might find weed jokes funny. I kind of do myself too well. But, I don't know. I don't really smoke myself. It's just kind of really just a personal sort of taste sort of thing. I just don't like the idea of it. Don't like how it smells, but I know lots of people who do. And, yeah, it's a lifestyle choice. I can leave them to just do what they want, really. I think that's kind of the thing we have to just realise in this modern day and age. Is you just have to, you might disagree with someone's lifestyle, you might not entirely understand it, but at the same time, it's like you're not really going to like change them or anything. It's like, I suppose the best way to, I mean, of course we've all got, even regarding like certain parts of our lifestyles, we've got to respect the laws of the land and the laws of the state that we live in. So you can't, take upon a particular way of life that goes against that, limitates someone's rights or goes against the literal law of the land. But I suppose, I mean, of course, it's different when it's like your way of life promotes the sort of liberation of a particular person or the protection of their individual rights. If that's the case, then that goes against the law. And I don't know. I think we should all have freedom to our own beliefs and our own sort of way of life, but at the same time we've also got to keep in mind when the law is both practical and it's also right to respect it. I think 90% out of the time it's right thing to respect it. It's just in those few countries around the world where people's rights are genuinely limited and like they're not allowed to like think certain ways and stuff like that. That opposing the law is maybe seen as a sign of moral compass and moral sort of individuality and respect by the wider, world and around the globe. So, I don't know. Maybe I just went a bit off the rails there, but to be honest with you, that's kind of the point of these rants. It's just for me to just get off what's ever on my chest, I suppose. And no, there's not really been that much happening recently in terms of stuff that's been happening recently. I mean, I did a little sort of vlog on my politics channel, which I'll link below, which in which I spoke about the whole crazy shit about the Tay tweets bot that Microsoft did recently. I just thought it was fucking hilarious how badly that blew up in their faces, and nothing else really has been happening to me recently. I've been sort of starting to research a bit more about like what questions I'm going to do for my end of year essays for second year of uni, and apart from that, really, I haven't really been doing much. Yeah, not much really at all. I saw my mum. She came down to Brighton from London to see me for a bit. But aside from that, I really haven't been doing much recently. I've been trying out Model of Honor Pacific because that was released on Origin for a short time for free, and it's a bloody hard game. And I mean, I suppose that's a lot of the way with a lot of older sort of first-person shooters. I mean, a lot of older games are quite harder compared to, the hand-holding sort of games of today. I mean, it's not always the case, of course. There are some first-person shooters today that I could say are probably quite tricky, but at the same time, just compare Medal of Honor Pacific to most, first-person shooters today, and I guarantee you will have a much harder time with that game than you will with most today. I mean, there are some design problems in Medal of Honor Pacific. It's not a perfect game by any stretch of the imagination, and it's not even my favourite Medal of Honor, but it is still a great game. I would recommend it, and but on the flip side, it's also really fucking hard compared to a lot of first-person shooters released today. I mean, I could definitely say it's a lot harder than most of the recent sort of, I'd say it's harder than, the last Killzone, the last couple of CODs, and a few others, just to name a few. I mean, it's not the hardest of first-person shooters. It's not the most difficult first-person shooter I've ever played. It's like, that would probably have to go to, I don't know, something like Operation uh, Ty- Typhoon 2, or Operation Flashpoint Dragon Rising, or something like that that's like hyper realistic. Because I quite like realistic first person shooters, but I am quite shit at them. I'll tell you that. I'd quite like to get into Well, I know it's not the most realistic, but I'd quite like to get into CS:GO at some point. It seemed to be quite an interesting competitive game, although I have heard some rather salacious things about the community. But still, it looks interesting enough. Might give it a go. It's been out for a few years now anyway. It's probably got a well-developed enough economy and community side. I don't know. That's the thing, I suppose. When a game's been around for a long time, it's probably going to develop quite a toxic section of its community, and depending on whatever game you buy, there's always going to be a degree of that in any case. Some games much less so. Loads and in fact, most strategy games I've ever played online, the communities have been, a little bit sort of obtuse in places, and, there have been some toxic people. For the most part, they've been generally pretty, welcoming, nice places, and, like, places where people are, like, highly competitive, but are also willing to learn, willing to cooperate, and it's just... that's part of the reason why I like real-time strategy games so much. It's part of the reason why they're my favourite video game genre. It's just a personal preference, really. Not dissing anyone who likes any other video game genres, not by any stretch, but it's just personal preference, really. But, with most games, outside of that genre, I'd say there's always going to be some degree of, like, toxicity in your community. To name a few... League of Legends, World of Tanks, EVE Online, I don't know, let's see, COD, CS:GO, God, to name a few. And then there's a few fighting games I'm sure that have quite sort of serious toxicity amongst their communities. And again, I'm not saying like the communities of all these games are completely toxic or that they're mostly toxic. It's just that they do have quite large, majorities or minorities, depending on which game it is, that are quite toxic. And that of course doesn't take away from the actual quality of the game itself. CSGO is still one of the most popular online shooters of all time, and the COD series is, while its sales have been going down in recent years, has still managed to outweigh in terms of sales and profitability that majority of FPS is released around the same time. You've got like LoL being one of the most popular battle arena games in the world, hell of all time, as is World of Tanks. It doesn't really affect the quality of the game so much, or even, define the majority even of the whole community. But it's just, I feel like that, of course, like most movements, that the more toxic and sort of extreme and unsavoury minority is just going to be sort of taking away the concentration from the nicer parts of the community, or just the general people who are just not really interested in either side, just want to play their game and be on their way. It's always going to be a part of online gaming, I think. And I don't think, online gaming is an inherently bad thing, of course. I'm an online gamer myself. I just think, you got to expect that sort of thing. It's not really something you can ever change. It's not something we'll ever will be able to change. I don't think it's such a toxic sort of widespread sort of thing that you'll never be able to remove it. But at the same time, that doesn't mean you should take away from parts of online gaming communities that are good or are just plain neutral. It's just... I don't know, I just feel like sometimes people take their aim away from the better parts of certain communities on the basis of the fact that there is just this minority of very vocal and angry dickheads, basically. And I don't know, I think, like, yeah, there's going to be a lot of nasty shit said in, like, online game forums, but at the same time, I doubt that that defines most of the community, or even just a simple majority. It's just like, you just got to expect the fact that there is a lot of weird and crazy shit said online, and that's just a way of life on the internet and internet gaming. it's not something we can ever change. It's something we've just got to accept and live with. I mean, it's not going to be nice for some people, but at the same time, it's just something you've got to learn to deal with. And I mean, that's the case with most problems in life. You just got to deal with them as they come along. You can never really predict what the problems in life are that you're going to face all the time, or how you're going to, always be able to conquer them. But I don't know. It just seems to me like people, put too much effort into combating, online examples of sexism, racism, harassment, and stuff like that. And I'm not saying people shouldn't do that. If there is genuine racism, if there is genuine sexism, if there is active, genuine harassment, then yeah, of course it should be called out and it should be combated. But at the same time, it's just like, I just get the feeling like it's not as prolific as, say in the early 2000s or the late 90s. I mean, it's still bad in certain places, and I'm not saying we I'm not saying we should stop combating that kind of stuff completely. Of course, there is some cases where it's very genuine, but yeah, I don't know. I just get the feeling like with most communities, it's just like the small, nasty minority are taking away from the benefits of the wider community as a whole, and the small aspects that are genuinely outreaching and positive and happy places. I mean, it's like, it's just the way of life, really. I mean, you've got to expect that sort of thing. That's why I say to people, if you don't like the initial impact of online gaming, then it's probably just not for you, really. It's not to do with like the people in the community as a whole, really. It's just to do with how the whole place is structured, and the fact that there is going to be toxic people in there, as there is with every community. You're not going to find a community that is wholly pleasing. I mean, that's just how life is. Nothing is perfect, and I suppose nothing ever will be perfect or ever has been. I mean, some people, of course, might believe there is, but I'm telling you, it's not the case. I mean, literally no one is perfect. No one is going to reach the flawless heights of I don't know what. I mean, I can't really think of anything that is perfect, actually, except for maybe, of course, a grilled bacon sandwich with brown sauce on wholemeal bread and black coffee with some with a couple of bakewell tarts after a night of heavy drinking. That, of course, is pretty perfect, I'm not going to lie. Or, of course, seeing your favourite football team beat their arch rivals. I mean, for me to go to the Valley and see Charlton Athletic beat Crystal Palace or Millwall, that would just be sublime. And I don't know. Maybe that's just the way life is meant to be. You've got your own personal experiences that you might cherish very strongly, but ultimately there's nothing that's going to be perfect, because I might say those things I just mentioned are very, very nice and to me and might seem perfect to me, but at the same time it's just like, you're not going to find someone who, in every case, who's going to like the same things as you. So literally it just boils down to nothing is perfect, and you're not going to... You shouldn't really expect everything to be perfect, because it never will be. I mean, I can understand someone's prerogative behind believing that it's, the right thing to do to constantly sort of improve everything to the point of perfection, but at the same time that might sometimes backfire in your face, and sometimes you might not need to fix what ain't broke, and sometimes you just got to expect that nothing is perfect. I mean, I'm not saying, of course, like, people shouldn't, go after improving their lives and, improving their situations and improving their lot in life and improving the world around them. But at the same time, it's not like everything is perfect. Well, what can you do?